swear them in?
No.
All right, thank you. What happened on August 23rd?
Yossarian came to me and asked if he could get a flight to Rome.
What were the circumstances surrounding this?
He did not have leave papers. He just came and was like, hey, can I get a flight to Rome? It seemed pretty sketchy.
What, if anything, did you say to him?
I told him that he was making a mistake and that he should respect the people who have gotten him to where he is.
And where did you drop him off?
In Rome, but it was in ruins, so I left as soon as I got there.
Did he have any proper papers, just to reiterate?
No, he did not.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Defense, you may cross-examine.
Because we have cross.
So, Miss Milo, you are a member of. I don't know how to address the. Okay, do I have to address? Can I address like them as Miss if they're my Miss girl?
It's fine.
I got a mustache.
Okay. Okay. You remember the 256th Bombardment Squadron stationed in Venosa, Italy, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So you are a member of the United States military and are allegiant to the United States, since you are in the Army, correct?
Mm-hmm.
You also own M&M Enterprises, correct?
Yes,
You frequently leave your post to attend to these businesses, correct?
quite often.
There are no records of you ever receiving a pass for leave whenever you've been taken on one of your business trips, correct?
Correct.
Isn't it also true that you're only allowed to go out on trips for the syndicate because Colonel Cathcart and Colonel Cord benefit monetarily from it, correct?
Yes.
You've also bombed your own unit. for
Objection,
a
Your Honor.
profit, correct?
Relevancy.
Goes to show that the witness is not reliable, Your Honor.
Reliable in what sense, Counselor?
She's testifying that someone has left without leave papers when she herself has often left without leave papers, abandoned her own post. Shows that she's bombed her own unit for profit.
Does this reflect in some way on the honesty of this witness?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'll allow a few more questions, but I'd like to see some direct bearing on this witness's integrity and some reason to doubt their testimony if that is your rationale for this questioning. Continue, but feel free to bring up the objection again if you see continued problems, Counselor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, just to reiterate, you also bombed your own unit just to make a profit, correct?
Yeah.
Furthermore, it's against military regulations to aid any foreign military or officer in the military you believe to be doing something wrong, correct?
Correct.
But you also flew Yossarian to Rome when you said you stated to him that you didn't think it was right, correct?
Correct.
So, just to recap, you bribed your superior officers of the U.S. government, correct?
Correct.
You've bombed your own unit, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So, and you've also gone against military regulations and aided an officer when you said you believed it was wrong, correct?
Correct.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Witness may step down. Prosecution, you may call your next witness.
We now call George the Rowan police officer. All right. What is your occupation?
I'm a Roman police officer.
Why was Yossarian arrested?
He did not have leave papers, as I was told by Colonel Corn.
What did Yossarian do with his leave papers?
I don't know. He didn't have any.
Did you contact anyone?
Colonel Corn called me.
Can Your Honor, can we bring up evidence?
Can you, Counselor?
Yes. No.
She's asking where it is.
Like, where is it? Like, I don't know.
Are you asking me where the evidence is?
It's in your desk, right?
That's a
Can I
great
grab it?
If it is, then yes. You should hold on to that. It should not be in my desk.
Can you identify this document?
Yes, this is a arrest report I gave for Yossarian.
And where was Yossarian when you found him?
He was in a hotel that the soldiers normally stay in.
What did you do with Yossarian after you arrested him for not having his legal papers?
We took him to the jail and then we kept him in there for the night and then flew him back to Pianosa the next day.
No further questions.
Defense, you may cross-examine.
As a Roman police officer, what are some of the responsibilities that you have?
To keep the peace.
Keep the peace. What were you doing when you first got the call from Colonel Corn?
We were waiting.
Waiting. Did you notice anything going on around in the streets around you?
Not anything in particular.
So, do you consider the abuse of animals and
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation.
What's the purpose of the question?
To question the position and activities of the police officers at the time and of the importance of the call and the arrest warrant that
Let's stick to factual questions rather than speculative questions about opinion and see if that's a little more fruitful. The objection is sustained.
yes, Your
Thank you,
Honor.
Your Honor.
Officer, what was outside of the hotel laying directly under the open window?
I'm not
Objection, Your
sure.
Honor. Relevancy.
The importance of the crimes being sought out to resolve.
I'll allow the question as long as this has some point. Go ahead and answer the question.
I was so focused on arresting Yossarian, I did not see anything.
So you did not see that there was a dead body underneath that window?
No.
And was that the only order that you received that day?
Yes.
So to repeat, or at what time of day was this at?
This was at night.
At night. So there was no other activities that you were participating in besides just watching the streets?
No, I was on duty. That's my job.
But you did not see the murder that occurred?
No.
No further questions.
Witness may step down. Prosecution, you may call your next witness to the stand.
Yes, Your Honor. We'd like to call Corn to the stand. Court's indulgence, Your Honor. Your Honor, may I approach the bench? We would like to have this entered into evidence as prosecution exhibit A. Thank you.
Mark this as Exhibit A.
Yes. Yes. please, Your Honor. Could you please state your name for the court?
My name is Colonel Korn.
And what do you do?
I am a colonel in the United States Air Force.
And what, if any, information did you receive about Yozarian's absence?
I was informed that Yossarian was absent without official papers. So
Who informed you?
the officers taking attendance. He was not at his designated post.
And just to reiterate, he did not have any,
He did not have any leave papers.
so he was off duty, essentially, right?
Yes, no one can find
Objection,
him.
Your Honor, leaving.
Can you rephrase?
Yozarian did not have the correct documentation.
Correct.
Leaving, Your Honor, objection.
What, if
Assistant
any,
again.
documentation did Yozarian have?
Yossarian did not have
Objection,
any.
Your Honor, asked and answered.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Colonel Korn, you believe that fraud, extortion, currency manipulation, embezzlement, income tax evasion, and
Objection, Your Honor, are these answers or questions?
I'm not sure. Is there a question? The counselor hasn't finished the question, so I'm not sure what the objection is to yet. Can you finish the question?
Yes, Your Honor. Would you like me to start again? or-
Please do.
Colonel Korn, you believe that fraud, extortion, currency manipulation, embezzlement, income tax evasion, and black market speculations are all perfectly legal, correct?
They are not illegal, or they are not legal.
Really? Could you please read the highlighted portion of page 211 in the book? Can I do that?
No.
Why not?
What is the evidence that you are entering into the record?
Okay. Can I have this marked as Defense Exhibit 1, please?
Still no. What exactly is the passage from the book that you are seeking to enter?
When Colonel Korn states that all of those things are perfectly legal.
And does Colonel Korn state this to a person?
Yes.
Then the court would rather hear evidence from the person to whom he is stating that than read from a text. We can't read from the text, otherwise this whole trial would be very short.
All right. Well, thank you, Your Honor. You have taken bribes from Milo in the past, correct?
Correct.
You have also made several different reports for the same occasion or event before, correct?
Correct.
You have also, military procedure dictates that you fill out paperwork for almost everything, correct?
Correct.
You never made any reports declaring Yossarian absent without leave, though, correct?
I made a call to Roman police that he was absent.
Do you have any paper records of reports that you made, though?
We should have a call log.
But is there a report saying Yossarian was absent without leave?
There was no official report, no.
Thank you. Switching topics. Morals give someone a sense of character, responsibility, and honesty, correct?
Correct.
Do you consider yourself a man of moral character, Colonel Cathcart?
I do.
Well, considering this, you consider yourself a man of moral character, but you've taken bribes before.
Objection, Your Honor, relevancy.
What is the relevance, counselor?
I'm going to show that the witness does not have a strong moral character and is therefore not trustworthy.
Is there some direct reflection on this witness's testimony? That we believe this testimony to be false? Is there some indication that you will bring to the court's attention that the testimony thus far that the defendant did not have leave papers is indeed not true?
I'm trying to show that there is no evidence that she had actually made any call logs, that she had a past history of forging paperwork. She testified that she made multiple reports, and I'm just going to show.
Well, Counselor, I haven't heard any questions to the effect of anything related to forgery. Do you believe the call logs to be forged?
I am trying to get across that it is a possibility.
Well, I would prefer a direct question to be asked of the witness. Were the call logs forged? Proceed with direct questioning, please. Your noted character questions have been established, but let's get to the meat of this and ask some questions about the facts and evidence. Please.
Thank you, Your Honor. How did you find out that Yossarian was absent without leave?
During attendance, I was notified that Yossarian was not present at his station.
Who notified you of this?
The people taking attendance, the officers.
What are these officers' names?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for invention of fact.
Your Honor, the mere fact that she's stating that people informed her of this is an invention of facts.
I would like to know the officers' names. The question is legitimate.
I do not have their full names.
Do you know their rank, who they are, anything about them?
I just know that they are officials that notify who take attendance.
Thank you. Who did you call to inform, or did you call anyone to inform of Yossarian's absence?
I called the Roman police force
How did you know Yossarian was going to be in Rome?
because he had gone to Rome before, and I was informed that he was in Rome.
Who informed you that he was in Rome?
The officer taking attendance, he knew.
How would the officer taking attendance know if you just found out that Yossarian was gone?
I think we have an issue with the question here, but do you have any additional questions?
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Witness may step down. Prosecution, you may call your next witness to the stand.
We're calling on Nick Locke to the stand. Say your name for the record.
What?
Did you know the defendant?
I did.
And how would you describe leading question?
I'll allow it. That's a pretty basic fact. Simple question is fine. Proceed.
How would you describe your relationship with the defendant?
We were all pals, known for a while.
Did Yossarian attack you?
He did.
And when did this attack take place?
Oh, well, we were flying on the, well, it was one of the ordinary flights, and like, I was just doing my usual flying, and suddenly I had hands around my throat.
And how did the defendant attack you?
He tried choking me.
No further questions.
Defense, you may cross-examine.
McWatt, you like to fly close to the ground, correct?
Yeah.
And you also killed Kit Sampson, correct?
Yeah, it was an accident, but it happened.
This is a risky maneuver, flying close to the ground, correct?
No, not usually.
The normal maneuver is to fly above the ground with a decent distance, correct?
They can't really fly below the ground.
So, flying closer to the ground would therefore make the flight more risky.
I only fly close to the ground near when I'm landing.
This
We're
is
taking
just a
off.
reminder, all seniors, you will be meeting in the auditorium during advisory this morning. All seniors, please report to the auditorium during advisory this
Objection,
morning.
relevance.
Thank you.
Continue, Counselor.
There were other people in the plane that you had control of, correct?
Yeah, there's two or three of us.
And Yossarian took action in order to help prevent any danger or injury due to your flying, correct?
No, he just started joking me.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Witness may step down.
Your Honor, at this time, the prosecution would like to call for Al Bombardier.
Harry. Thanks.
What is your position?
Well, I was just one of the new bombardiers to replace Orr. God bless his soul. You know, just learning how to fly that day, usual.
And who were you with?
I was with McWhite and Old Yo-Yo.
What were you doing?
I was just watching McWhite, you know, learning how to fly, getting the gist of the things.
Did you see the encounter take place?
Yeah,
Your Honor, leading.
Rephrase, counsel.
What, if anything, did you see during the class?
well, I was just watching him fly his plane, you know, how he does, just moving all the thingamabobs around, and then I just saw Yo-Yo, he just grabbed him and just started threatening him. It was crazy. I was scared out my britches, and I wasn't even the one being choked and threatened and all that.
Thank you for your question.
Defense may cross-examine.
You are generally new to your career in flight and the bombardment, correct?
Yeah, I'd say so, but I mean, I already learned how to fly and all that. I did the school, but I was just, you know, getting used to getting out in the field. But
Yossarian has more experience than you, correct?
I'd say so, but McWhite was there too, and he knew what he was doing.
It is you know a dangerous maneuver when you see one, correct?
I'd say so.
Now that Yossarian has more experience than you, does he know a dangerous maneuver when he sees one?
I mean, maybe
Objection,
so.
Your Honor. Witness can't testify to another person's opinion.
That's correct. I'll sustain that objection. Can you rephrase, counselor, to ask something more factual rather than speculative opinion?
Yossarian has the better position to intervene within flights, correct?
Well,
Objection,
McWhite
Your
was.
Honor, relevancy.
What is the relevance of the question?
Yossarian's role in the plane and that his feeling that of the dangers of the flight.
You're establishing the hierarchy of the individuals in the plane. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes.
I'll allow that. A little more understanding of the dynamic within the plane is acceptable. So you may continue with that particular line of questioning.
Where was your location in the plane?
I was just hanging out behind McWhite so I could see him clicking all the thingamabobs and steering, you know.
Could you see outside of the plane?
Yep, just through the window.
And you were aware of the position of the plane compared to the ground?
Yep. I've been flying with McWhite before. You know, he just flies how he flies, nothing out of the ordinary.
No further questions.
Witness may step down.
We now call to the stand Junior Giuseppe's brother. So, Junior, are you sure that the man you saw was not your brother?
Objection, Your Honor, leading.
Sustained. You'll have to rephrase that, Counselor.
When you went to the hospital, was the man you saw your brother?
Objection, Your Honor, still leading.
Still sustained.
Can we switch on?
You may.
What, if anything, did you notice when you went to the hospital?
I noticed that the man on that bed, that was not my brother. That was Usarian. I was sure.
Objection, Your Honor, to textual inaccuracies. Can you do that?
Explain.
Nowhere in the book does it state that Giuseppe's brother was ever aware that it was not Giuseppe on that bed.
You'll have to be a little more careful in your testimony as far as sticking to the accuracy of the text. It is much more ambiguous than a direct statement.
Thank you, Your Honor.
How did you learn it was you there?
I was shown a picture of Usarian before the trial started, and I knew that wasn't my brother.
Objection, Your Honor, still textual inaccuracies. In the book, it states that Usarian had bandages covering his face and would make him hardly recognizable compared to that to today.
This is a genuinely vague area of testimony. I'll allow the questioning to continue, but I will take into account the caveats that the defense has expressed.
Thank you.
You can continue, Counselor.
Okay, thank you. Was the voice of the man in bandages the same?
Yes. Or it wasn't the same to my brother, but he kept claiming his name was Usarian, and I had to keep going with it.
All right, thank you. No further questions.
Defense, you may cross-examine.
You had never met Usarian before you met him in the hospital, correct?
Correct.
Usarian was a complete stranger to you, correct? The man's face was covered, correct?
Yes, he was covered in bandages.
Your Honor, can we switch out?
You don't need to ask permission, counselors.
The man's face, you testified, was covered in bandages, correct?
Correct.
So you never got to see his full face, correct?
Correct.
The lighting in the room was also dark at the time, correct?
Yes, it was very dark.
So there's no way you could accurately tell who was actually on that bed, correct?
Correct, but there was also the voice.
But the face was covered and you could not, when the room was dark. Your family was upset at the time, correct?
Correct. They were very upset.
You all were crying because your brother was dying, correct?
Correct.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Witness may step down. Prosecution may call its next witness.
We now call to the stand A. Fortiori. Why were you in the hospital?
I had a stone in my salivary gland.
Why were you being discharged back to the U.S.?
I was notified that I was being discharged because I had a split personality disorder and was insane.
And how were you diagnosed as being insane?
Well, I never actually saw McWatt. He just diagnosed me as insane, and then I was discharged, but no doctor actually saw me for that.
And who was the doctor that deemed you as insane?
Sanderson.
No further questions.
Defense, you may cross-examine.
Fortiori, do you have any medical degrees?
I do not, no.
So you're not able to make any medical or psychological diagnosis, correct?
No, but I do know what I was told that I was being discharged for, and I do know that no doctors ever saw me for what I was discharged for.
You were a patient at the hospital, correct?
Yes, I was.
And you were declared insane.
Yes, I was.
So do the doctors and nurses there often make mistakes with identity, correct? Yeah.
I wouldn't know. I haven't seen any of the medical records.
But you were declared insane when you were never seen by a doctor, though, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So it's a common occurrence to be mistaken, ignored with someone else.
I guess I couldn't.
Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation.
Sustained.
In your case, you were ignored by the staff of the hospital and mistakenly diagnosed, correct?
Correct.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Witness may step down. Prosecution, you may call your next witness to the stand.
We call Sanderson to defense. Can you give me 2 seconds?
I'm almost there.
You got it. All right. Did the man that you deemed insane introduce himself to you as a fortiori?
Objection, Your Honor. Leaving.
Please rephrase, counselor.
How did the man that you deemed insane introduce himself?
Well, I went to go see my patient, and it was a fortiori, there for a stone in his pituitary. No, not pituitary. So.
If the man was not insane, was there any other condition at that time that would have prevented him from returning to combat?
Objection, Your Honor. Leaving.
Sustained. Please rephrase.
Were there any other conditions that the man had?
Objection, Your Honor. This witness is not qualified as an expert and therefore can't give testimony to conditions the witness has.
Sustained.
No further questions.
Defense, you may cross-examine.
There is no medical report for a fortiori, correct?
Incorrect. I filed one myself.
Where is it? Court indulgences, Your Honor.
4.
A moment to confer with co-counsel.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine. Yeah.
I'm purple.
I want to get a picture of the. Oh, I got that.
Feel like my eyebrow.
Silence. Court's indulgence does not extend to obnoxious people in the audience.
So you stated that you said that Fortiori was insane, correct?
Yeah.
Is that the man that you deemed insane?
No, I'd say, wait, yes, I'd say so. He looked up like him.
So you deemed that man insane, but you said his name was A Fortiori, correct?
Yes.
So A4 was the one that was sent home, correct?
Yeah.
So there was a discrepancy between who you deemed insane and who you sent home, correct?
Maybe. I don't know who got sent home. I just found out that he was going home, you know. Say goodbye.
So, if you deemed this man insane, but said his name was Fortiori, it would be assumed that Fortiori would be the one that was sent home, correct?
Yeah.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Witness may step down. Prosecution, you may call your next witness. Am I correct that this is your final witness?
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, prosecution would like to call forward Nurse Duckett. What is your occupation, Ms. Duckett?
I'm a nurse.
And where do you work?
I work at the hospital in Pianosa.
What is that like?
Well, I tend to the patients there. I distribute their medicine, help them remain clean, and any wounds that they might have, I clean up around the hospital, stuff like that.
Just for clarity, who's this area? Sorry.
Yes,
Okay. Thank you. Do you recognize the face of that man?
Yes, that's Captain John Yossarian.
Okay. And have you had any prior interaction with him?
Yes, on the morning of February 20th, when I was attending to my duties in the hospital, I was bent over smoothing sheets at the foot of his bed when he grabbed me in my genitals and sexually assaulted me.
Was he the only one?
No, after I finally escaped after 15 seconds of struggling and screaming, I ran to the other side of the aisle where I was again grabbed and violated by his associate Dunbar.
Did you give them permission?
No.
Were either punished for their actions?
They were not. The commanding general came in and he was at first upset. However, Dunbar was knocked unconscious after I finally evaded him. So he was, I guess you would say, excused for it. And Yossarian was beginning to speak about his dream with the fish and how he wasn't mentally well. So he was also excused, I guess you would say.
Thank you. No further questions.
Ms. Duckett, you had previously been in a relationship with the defendant, you said before, correct?
Correct.
You've since broken up, correct?
Correct.
Isn't it true that being with Yossarian when you were dating thrilled you and you could not keep, and you loved it when you could not keep his hands off you when you were together, correct?
Correct.
Hasn't Yossarian also protected you from being touched by the other men without your permission, correct?
Correct.
Your Honor, relevancy.
What is the relevance, Counselor?
Goes to show Yossarian's character and previous relationships with the witness.
Is that relevant to the charge at hand?
It shows that since she did not bring up charges against Yossarian until after they had broken up with their relationship. And I'm going to show that she now has a bias against him.
I'll allow the questioning to continue, but be careful with this. It's a very narrow line that you're treading here. Continue, but be careful.
Thank you, Your Honor. Isn't it true that you actually joined a relationship and actually became boyfriend and girlfriend per se with Yossarian after this incident, correct?
Correct. However, sexual assault within the context of a relationship is still sexual assault.
But isn't it true that when you were in the relationship that you did find Yossarian wonderful and good to be around?
I would say I found our relationship to be more of a coping mechanism because I couldn't avoid him. I had to be around him quite frequently. It was my way of coming to terms with what he had done to me.
Well, isn't it also true that you didn't file these charges until after you broke up with Yossarian?
Correct.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Witness may step down. At this time, does the prosecution rest?
Yes, Your Honor.
Prosecution rests. The court is going to just ask for a little bit of feedback from both the prosecution and the defense. Would we prefer a short break or go right into the defense arguments? Defense seems to request a break. Prosecution? Court will adjourn for a few minutes. Please remain seated. Court is not adjourned yet. Remain seated. Court is still in session. Now court is adjourned. You may relax. You guys are bad at this.
I've never been.